Now you say you believe me. I was genuine as hell and you ain't won't believe me. I was genuine as hell and you ain't won't believe me. I was genuine as hell and you ain't won't believe me. I was genuine as hell and you ain't won't believe me. Sometimes I wish I wasn't famous. Praises go to my creator. Gangster don't do no complaining. Remember nights when I was hunger painting. Sometimes I fast just to let the maker know I'm thankful. In the hellfire, everything below the ankle. Blow a bed and let my grandmother know I made it. Pain I feel, crying tears, it ain't no replacement. When your spirit comfort me and say you so amazing. Stick your chest out, lift your chin up, forever I've been with you. Beautiful and you don't look like apple what you been through. Pressure on my shoulders, still I'm staying focused. Dealing with a lot of ain't too difficult to know. I know, it get rough sometimes.
We are in the image, this is the biblical expression now. If we're in the image and the likeness of God, that means that in the genes, you have the potential not only for self-mastery, but you have the potential to become master of the universe. I want to say that again, and I want you to listen. You can't be made in the image and likeness of a God whose attributes are the most excellent and then accept mediocrity. There is no mediocrity in your creator. So mediocrity is in you because you have been programmed diametrically opposed to your genetic possibilities. You are not living up to what is in your genetic makeup. Come on now, let's talk now about what a father is.
Hey guys, yeah, RDC TV here. We know it's the 21st and we see you guys with your capes. We were trying to see if you would explain how you're going to use your powers for good.
Explain? Nigga, we ain't explaining shit, nigga. Hey, this is news, huh? Hey, at the days of niggas explaining shit to y'all niggas, that shit is over. I'm gonna tell you that right now. But what we can do is flex these powers on your head top. Hey, show him what you can do real fast. Show. You got it. Hey, that's only one power he got. That's fine. Hey, show him. You up next. Go on. Hey, and we call that nigga Folk Flat. Yes, we got hero names. What you think mine is? He's a boy. Hey, you know what it is. Hey, hold on. Let him come back. Jumpman! Stop playing with us. Hey, so now that we got these powers, we want to enact a few changes for y'all. The first thing is how y'all did us in the 1700s and 1800s. That's how we gonna do y'all.
Wait. What do you mean?
What you mean? You stupid?
What do you mean?
I said what y'all did to us in the 1700s and 1800s. That's what we gonna do to y'all. So if y'all did good to us, y'all ain't got nothing to worry about.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you referring to slavery?
Hey, nigga, you said that. Hey, you said that.
You said that.
That's all we said. Hey, in them $600 stimulus checks, y'all gonna live off that shit.
Y'all live exactly.
Exactly.
Y'all got that.
Y'all vaccines, y'all doing that shit first. Everything that y'all made us do, you doing. Cause how you gonna stop us? Not saying we're gonna do nothing. But how you gonna stop us? Hey, so I just want to tell you one more thing real fast. Hey, we the new Justice League. You know what I'm saying? Folk Flat, Jumpman, we the new Justice League. So y'all gonna do what we say, all right? Now broadcast this to everybody. Because if we don't see this broadcasting, we gonna come see y'all. All right? So Justice League, who? Yeah, Folk Flat, Jumpman, Heater, and every other black person you see. They all the Justice League too. Hey, y'all better do what we say.
Talk about DNA and what many scientists refer to as junk DNA. First off, DNA is what makes us. What scientists refer to as junk DNA is actually higher elements of your DNA, which we need to tap into for nature's progression. Nature's junk DNA of us is higher and powerful elements, which leads to the keys of unlocking ancient and dormanted powers. An example of dormanted powers is telepathy, and ancient memory shows his true story. How do you access these powerful elements? by upgrading your body's frequency and vibration. How do you safely harmonize with these new upgraded vibrations and frequencies? You eat healthy, drink water, work out, meditate, be grateful, be conscious of your thoughts.
Junk in my trunk or in my DNA or both. Hey guys, it's Trace again for D News. Our DNA might be mostly nothing. Yep, nada. Zip. Just trash. Scientists learned in the 80s that of all DNA, maybe 2% contains actual genes. Genes are the switches that turn on the production of proteins that make us who, how, and what we are. The rest of that 98%, we're not sure what that does. If anything, it might just be junk DNA, or what the scientists call non-coding DNA. Coding DNA connects to RNA, which then goes off and produces cells and determines how they work. But non-coding DNA, well, it's pretty much just chilling out. Since its discovery, scientists have found that this disorganized and mostly mysterious section of our genetic code doesn't really seem to do anything. So why don't we just cut it out? Because we're not entirely sure that it's useless. That's why it just seems to be. Non-coding DNA was discovered when scientists began looking deeper into cloning. They found that only a small percent of our DNA determined a lot about the organism, and now scientists have been working for decades to find out exactly what the heck we've got with all this extra genetic material. A new study published on May 12th in the journal Nature says that stuff is just crap. It's nothing. Get it out of there. And their proof is in this plant, the carnivorous bladderwort. Looking at the DNA of the carnivorous bladderwort plant, scientists believe that they have confirmed that our junk DNA probably ain't worth the proteins it's printed on. The clues to this new finding has to do with the bladderwort's tiny amount of non-coding DNA. Whereas most things, including humans, have like 2% genes and 98% Zippo, that 1 to 2% of DNA contains all the genes that make RNA that make you.
Almaty, Kazakhstan, May 2013. Mathematician Vladimir Sherbak and astrobiologist Maxim Makukov publish a study they've conducted on the human genome. Their research has led them to the shocking conclusion that there is a hidden code within our DNA, one that contains precise mathematical patterns and an unknown symbolic language.
They looked into the human genome and they found what appeared to be an extraterrestrial stamp on our genetic code. And it operated very much like a mathematical type of code.
The odds of this sequence occurring 9 times in the randomness of our genetic code is 1 in 10 trillion. Finally, someone has come across the one piece of evidence that I've always said we need in order to prove the ancient astronaut theory. I always said it'll never be a crashed spaceship or a ray gun that will dig somewhere in the sand, but it will be found within our own DNA.
For ancient astronaut theorists, the news offered compelling evidence that mankind's DNA was deliberately manipulated by an extraterrestrial intelligence sometime in the ancient past.
The ancient astronaut theory suggests that at some point, extraterrestrials targeted our DNA with an artificial mutation of our genes. And if this is true, then some have argued that we are, in a sense, organic robots, because through that manipulation of our genes, we were given intelligence. So, it was done artificially, which means AI, artificial intelligence.
Organic robots programmed by extraterrestrials? Could such an audacious concept even be remotely true? As far as ancient astronaut theorists are concerned, not only is the answer yes, but it provides the reason why humans have such a strong affinity to not only create cybernetically enhanced versions of themselves, but to merge with them.
So could this be evidence that just as these advanced extraterrestrial civilizations may have programmed us humans at a genetic level, that now we're actually programming these artificially intelligent robotic beings in the same manner to carry on this agenda that was started long ago by the seeding of this planet from these extraterrestrial civilizations.
Good morning. I'm a cell biologist from Riken, Yokohama. And today I'm going to tell you about junk. Gomi. Yes. So junk can be considered as something useless or serves no purpose. Let me give you an example. A food that is considered have very little nutrition value, we call that junk food. Or you open your post box and you find piles of advertisements, we call that junk mail. But you might be wondering why a scientist is going to tell you about junk today. So I'm not going to talk about any ordinary junk, but junk that is found inside our DNA. See, DNA can be found inside our cells, and they are the blueprint of life. And these cells the DNA contains all the genetic information that will help us to start life, to maintain our life, protect our life, or even end our life. But there's a mystery hidden behind our DNA. All of these processes that I just described to you is controlled by genes, but those genes can only be found in 2% of our DNA. But there's more. If you were to take DNA and extract it from your cell, from single cellular body, and you stretch out your DNA as long as you can, that can be as long as 2 meters long. And there's even, what's more amazing is that if you were to take DNA from all of our cells in our human body and combine them all together and stretch it as far as you can, it will go from this Earth to the sun and back 200 times. That's the amount of DNA that we're carrying inside our body. But as I said, this 2% can only be found to describe the most important part of the genetic controls in our life. So you'd be wondering, how about this remaining 98%, these non-coding regions of our DNA? And so for the longest time, ever since the 1970s, many of the scientists thought that this part of our DNA was considered junk or useless. And that really got me curious, because when I first heard this as a high school student in my biology class, something didn't really feel right. You know, I didn't feel good that I was carrying all this junk in my body, and something had to be more than just uselessness. So that really got me curious and wanted to venture into my research and wanted to understand what is hidden behind this part of our DNA. And over the past several years, our lab and many other labs around the world have discovered that there's far more information hidden in this area than previously thought. So DNA actually is not two-dimensional linear, but inside our cells, they can actually form three-dimensional interactions. And what has been shown is that these non-coding regions of our DNA are in close contact with the protein coding regions to regulate the gene expression. So they can switch on or switch off the gene. But what's far more interesting is that many of the mutations or the changes that occur in our DNA that can cause disease are also found in this non-coding region of our DNA. So mutations that can cause cancer or autoimmune disease or Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, these mutations are found in non-coding non-coding DNA regions, and they are actually interfering the control of the essential genes to life. And by these mutations, we are finding very devastating consequences to our daily activities. So we quickly realized that in order to understand the full extent of our life, we need to look beyond this 2% and explore the unknown. So there's more that I wanted to share with you today. And this DNA can not only generate RNA. So RNA is a very essential part of our process. And RNA can be considered as a cousin to our DNA. And what has been known is that RNA is required to make proteins. But what we realized is that in these non-coding regions of our DNA, they can also generate RNA. But what's unique about this is that this RNA do not make proteins. So there must be something more that this protein is doing. So in order to understand this non-coding RNA, many laboratories around the world, including ourselves, have started to characterize them. So let me just give you a couple of examples of what these non-coding RNAs can actually do. So one of the things that it can do is it can act as a connector. It can bring two proteins together to join into one simple complex. So you can imagine, like in a Shinkansen, you have two train carriages, and you need a little connector between to bring these carriages together. Just like that, this non-coding RNA is able to bring two proteins together. And therefore, these proteins then be functional inside our cells. Another example of this non-coding RNA is that it can act as a GPS system. So this
is junk DNA. Go back and tell your professors I told them that, and they lie. Or they're ignorant and they shouldn't be professors teaching genetics. Junk DNA are those strands that were cut, and when they weave back together again, and they're going to, you will have the power potential of 50 gods, 50 supermen, 50 Atlases, and Schwarzeneggers and anything else that you want to have, because the physical body will then follow the astral, etheric, mental, causal, higher forms of energy. And all your dreams will become answered. Don't think that anybody's going to let that happen if they can stop you. And they're going to try to stop you with every means known to this planet. It is a war on. The only thing is, you only realize that there were battles. You didn't know you were in a war for this very planet. But many of you now are coming into that consciousness, as you should and must. The best from Kemet, Aikubu land, is here in the United States. Survivors of those DNAs, even though you see they killed your ancestors, they couldn't kill the DNA strand that produces those kind of beings. That's why killing is such a stupid, wasteless thing. Because all you do is to transform that energy into a higher form that will be able to withstand the thing that took out its ancestor, and ancestral rights go on. That's what they were trying to tell you when they said study your ancestors, because you are your ancestors. Did you hear me? You don't have to pray to your ancestors. Look at yourself. Every molecule, every DNA, everything that ever was in melanin is never forgotten and transplants itself into another body with the same memory that was locked in the first one. You just have to get the key to know who it is. That's why they don't like to take you into regressions, because all of that comes back. It still comes back sometimes with the drugs, and that's what the people who take the drugs don't understand. They get flashes of greatness without being able to maintain it, and then since they haven't raised their vibrational rate, the whole thing wears out, and you age overnight, forget what you did know even in this incarnation, become stupid and rancid, and go around helping to have other people with less possible intelligence take care of you. That stupidity has got to stop. The potential, when you can bring those strands back together, is to do everything that the best computer, PC or mainframe, hardware or software can do, and do it 9 times better and quicker, and even have the machines fearing you as they used to. That's what the whole concept of machine Manitou that the Algonquins who used to populate your area here were afraid of. They're teaching you now of virtual reality. Virtual reality is your consciousness in just half awakened state being used, where whatever you can imagine, you can bring about. That is past the virtual reality. When your melanin is functioning correctly, you can bilocate by being in consciousness one place while being in your body in another. Some people call that state now death. That is real life. That's why they used to have guardians for the body, watchers, and all kind of other terms that some of you from Louisiana, from Mississippi, from the old country, and with the teachings of the god Wadal knew about. And that's what you used to run to those people, to bilocate and tell you what was happening and to influence your enemies. And you know your grandmothers and grandfathers talking about it, and some of you may even practice it now. But practice it in the life in the full capacity. It is a gift.
DNAs can hold over 215 million gigabytes of data, but most of our DNA is actually deactivated. There's something called the junk DNA. Once activated through spiritual work or certain meditative techniques, you can obtain certain abilities and even connect to your ancestors. And many people don't know, but actually getting in your simple minerals will help aid in DNA activation. And when you don't get in your minerals, your DNA cannot be activated. So simply buying yourself some trace mineral drops and getting in your minerals will help activate your DNA and increase your consciousness and feed your soul. And with your junk DNA activated, you will have abilities such as clairaudience, hearing spirits, seeing spirits, seeing to the unknown, more powerful manifestations and faster manifestations, astral projection, more lucid dreams, and a lot more spiritual benefits.
Powerful and lovely star seeds, welcome back to another video. To begin with, according to Carl Jung, the one who looks outside dreams, and the one who looks within awakens. Yes, you must have heard about DNA activation, but what is it in the actual sense? So, this seems to be the latest hype among spiritual teachers as well as among scientists. From DNA kits that test and validate your ancestral origins to various techniques that claim to activate dormant information in your DNA, this is the new cool subject on the block as our perspective about DNA is totally changing. Having that in mind, could we reprogram our DNA? Do we influence our DNA programming when we have negative thoughts and emotions? Could we heal faster if we reset our DNA to its factory settings? Our DNA does not make us sick if we have a specific gene. Our behavior influences how we develop when we adapt to the surrounding environment. Make sure to explore more on your DNA activation. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification button as well, because I will be uploading more videos on this topic. But before we continue, I would like you to take a look at this video.
If life starts approximately 1 billion years ago, we will have to wait 400,000 years to see the aberration of the first nerve cells. This is where life as we know it begins. Brains in formation of only a few milligrams. It's not possible to determine any sign of intelligence yet. It acts more as a reflex. 1 neuron, you're alive. 2 neurons, you're moving. And with movement, interesting things begin to happen. Animal life on Earth goes back millions of years. Yet most species only use 3 to 5% of its cerebral capacity. But it isn't until we reached human beings at the top of the animal chain that we finally see a species use more of its cerebral capacity. 10% may not seem like much, but it's a lot if you look at all we've done with it. The only living being that uses its brain better than us, the dolphin. It is estimated that this incredible animal uses up to 20% of its cerebral capacity. In particular, this allows it to have an echolocation system that is more efficient than any sonar invented by mankind. But the dolphin did not invent the sonar, it developed it naturally. And this is the crucial part of our philosophical reflection we have today. Can we therefore conclude that humans are concerned more with having than being? For primitive beings like us, life seems to have only one single purpose: gaining time. And it is going through time seems to be also the only real purpose of each of the cells in our bodies. To achieve that aim, the mass of the cells that make up earthworms and human beings has only two solutions: be immortal or to reproduce. If its habitat is not sufficiently favorable or nurturing, the cell will choose immortality. In other words, self-sufficiency and self-management. On the other hand, if the habitat is favorable, they will choose to reproduce. That way, when they die, they hand down essential information and knowledge to the next cell, which hands it down to the next cell, and so on. Thus, knowledge and learning are handed down through time. Let's imagine for a few moments what our life would be like if we could access, let's say, 20% of our brain's capacity. This first stage would give us access to and control of our own body.
Sir?
Yes?
Has it been proved scientifically?
For the moment, it's just hypothesis, I confess. But if you think about it, it's troubling to realize that the Greeks, the Egyptians, and the Indians had notion of cells centuries before the invention of the microscope. And what to say about Darwin, whom everybody took for a fool when he put forth his theory of evolution? It's up to us to push the rules and laws and go from evolution to revolution. 100 billion neurons per human, of which only 15% are activated. There are more connections in the human body than there are stars in the galaxy. We possess a gigantic network of information to which we have almost no access.
Sir?
Yes?
And what would be the next stage?
Well, the next stage would probably be control of other people. But for that, we would need to access at least 40% of our brain's capacity. After control of ourselves and others, would come control of matter. But now we're entering into the realm of science fiction, and we don't know any more than the dog who watches the moon.
Excuse me, sir?
Yes?
But what would happen if, for some reason, we ignore somebody unlocked 100% of the cerebral capacity?
100%?
Yes.
I have no idea.
Here.
French fry, ice chop, pad thai, baked pop, pork chop, soda pop, scallop, kebab, soursop, hot pot, dumpling, chicken wing, Peking onion ring. We are America's Kitchen. DoorDash. Every flavor welcome.
"62 tabs open and no idea if you'll be approved for a good credit card. But you've overcome uncertainty before? Like when you weren't sure singing to the woman across the bar would get her attention. But getting approved for a great credit card? That's a different tune. With Karma Confidence technology, you can be more confident in your chance of approval for a great credit card before you even apply. Y'all really like this song, huh? Get the Money app where your hard work pays off and create your own karma. Credit Karma.
This is what DNA activation claims to be able to do, to put it metaphorically. There are many similarities between DNA and language. DNA is the language our cells use to do everything they do. It's basically our survival guide, as well as the blueprint of existence. Our DNA stores all the possibilities, all the potential, all the ideas, history, everything. It's like an open book of who we are, but we forgot how to read it. Now, what are the necessary processes required to activate it? How does it work? Imagine the amount of information stored in the double helix DNA strand structure. What if junk DNA, which is 97% of our DNA, is just dormant information and untapped potentials? There are different techniques practiced either by using sound healing, light language, Reiki methods and so on to activate this innate potential that sleeps for now. The cool part of DNA activation is that it can be done remotely. The DNA activation allows us to survive the environmental poisons created by man, as well as accelerates our psychic senses. As a species, we are now evolving and are waking up dormant parts of our spiritual DNA. The DNA activation is now becoming a part of the Earth's collective consciousness. Enough people have been activated, so that it happens spontaneously to people without having it done by a practitioner. Most people have already intuitively activated themselves. However, proper guidance is necessary. Once you learn the technique, you can apply it whenever you feel like you are experiencing emotional blockages, repetitive negative thoughts, panic and anxiety attacks, depression, fatigue and so on. After DNA activation, there will be a time frame in which your entire body, mind, and spirit recalibrate to their original frequency and vibration. It's like you are a musical instrument that needs attunement from time to sound as it was designed to. The Radical Guide DNA activation method is the process of awakening our dormant spiritual DNA strands, unlocking them beyond the double helix. To restore and activate the true depth of potential within each and every one of us. Star seeds, why should you activate your DNA? Are there benefits attached to DNA activation? Do you feel you are in a rut? Whatever you try to do, you end up in the same patterns. Are you experiencing any emotional blockages? Repressed trauma? Do you feel you have all this potential that you are not manifesting? Are you trying to manifest and everything is not as you are imagining? Life is not supposed to be like this. We are here to experience the beauty of life and enjoy it with loving kindness. Have you ever wondered if there is a shortcut here to help you return to yourself faster? Well, this is exactly what DNA activation is. A shortcut to yourself. That pure self which is not hurt, not tired and always happy to overcome any challenges life throws in its way. Experience it for yourself if you have the courage to live your highest potential and manifest your highest outcome. When you start activating your DNA, you will start developing your telepathic ability. Your telekinetic ability will be activated, so that you can be able to control your environment with your mind. You will develop your psychokinetic ability in a more advanced way. If your 12 strands of DNA is activated, it strengthens the immune system, enhances your daily life abilities as a cosmic being in the 5th dimension. Depth of clarity and focus may begin. Unconscious parts, shadows, may emerge, but engage them openly. Bouts of energy in high and low forms may surface, witness it all with love. Take note of what you're feeling and observing in yourself as you integrate. A strong immune system means that cells heal faster. You will eliminate physical pains attached to your daily life. Cells that heal faster communicate with more ease between them. Your creativity will enhance. You will open your inner sight, clairvoyance. You will improve intrinsic communication with your multidimensional self. You will have greater ability to heal depression, anxiety, addictive behaviors, and negative emotional patterns. Most importantly, you will start remembering your past lives, both on Earth and in all dimensions and planets. You have to understand that your DNA is like a physical and metaphysical memory system and saves all your experiences and memories in all dimensions. Forget everything you think you know about DNA. Much like our brain, our DNA has inactive segments we do not use. It is well known that we only actively use 10% of our brain, as Timberwolf explains it. Our DNA is composed of 12 strands. From those 12 strands of DNA, we only use 2. Statistically speaking, this means we only use 16.67% of our DNA. So what happens to this huge part of our DNA? Is it asleep? There are 10 unused strands, which are well known as junk DNA, or shadow DNA. Can you imagine the amount of information and abilities that are stored in junk DNA? Have you ever wondered what our capabilities would be if we unlocked that huge amount of data? This is why they want each and every one of you to give your upper arm to them.
Unexpected turns, I keep my sticks on tight. Head on collision, hope the seatbelt right. Might be locked up tomorrow, but we free tonight. Pray in the corner, get a leash on life. Leash on tight, only right, we know. And please don't judge us for the past we chose. Looking up there, no one sending me signs. Only this was a movie, I pressed the rewind.